The Wianokes made their living partially by hunting and fishing and partially by farming. They were not nomads at all. They lived in towns, and right in amongst the houses were gardens in which they raised corn, beans, and squash. Europeans were not used to our corn at all and found it rather interesting and soon began buying it. The people who raised the corn shocked the Europeans because it was the women. Women were the farmers. It was the men who did the hunting and most of the fishing. But the farmland was controlled by the women. The women also built the houses, and they wanted a shorter commute to work each day, so they built the houses right close to the gardens. The location of towns then was decided upon by the women, because the women did the work in the town. The men were out. They wouldn't have had much say about where the town went. But the center of everything was the water, because everybody was in and out of the water. Water was also a major source of their food, with fish and shellfish of various kinds. So they were constantly going to the water just to get part of that night's supper. Water was central. They had to have waterfront towns. And for that reason, you find the maps showing Indian towns only along the rivers and some of the creeks. You don't find Indian towns way back away from the river. That was hunting territory. It was public hunting land. So you're not going to find Indian towns back there. The Wianoke Indians only appear for a few decades in the records in Virginia. This didn't mean that they got massacred by anybody. They didn't. It doesn't mean that they died out. They didn't. It means that they moved. They continued living on their James River land on both sides of the James River. Beautiful farmland there, by the way, some of the best in the state. The Indians knew how to find good farmland, but they had to move away from it after the war with the English of 1644 to 46. The pressure the English could put on them by that time drove them away from James River, and they went clear down into northeastern North Carolina and settled briefly in a number of places, always on a creek bank, always in places that were claimed by somebody else. And eventually they simply gave the thing up and they merged with another tribe. The people they merged with were the Nottaways. When the Nottaways and the Wianokes and some Nansemans took English names, which happened after 1700, then you have some of the Wianoke descendants taking the name Wianoke. Wianoke, Wianoke. And eventually that name died out, but the people would have had descendants. Eventually the Nottaways dispersed altogether, and there are Nottaway descendants all over the United States. And some of them have got some Wianoke ancestry.